Yeah, we'll just do this one off the cuff because it's coming up in the conversation. On the topic of ride sharing or Uber Eats or DoorDash or anything like that being wow, my lips are very red from all of that Tabasco sauce. That is insane. I do not like that color. But on the topic of rideshare and all of that stuff, gig economy stuff being used to supplement people's work right now, or to be a full replacement for people's work right now, I think that it's horrific, honestly. So let's go ahead and get into a couple examples of what makes something part of the gig economy. Anybody who does temporary or contract work, anybody who is an independent contractor like me, myself, and I, anybody who is a consultant, anybody who is a freelancer, anybody who is doing rideshare economy stuff, anybody who is doing like Uber Eats, Lyft, or DoorDash, all of that stuff is part of the gig economy. Now, hello, hi, how are you doing, hun? Why? So, why is gig work predatory? Well, because there's a lot of upfront costs and there's a lot of hidden costs to it that you generally don't think of. We'll use Uber as a big example here. So let's say that you say, hey, I want to go ahead and work for Uber, and that's great. You have 2 times where you'll be able to work with Uber: regular times or times where there is surge pricing. Now, when there's surge pricing, you get more money. And what surge pricing is you get 2 to 3 times more money for every single person that you pick up. And that's fine as an idea, but given that the times you're generally riding during surge pricing are also very high traffic times, far more dangerous times to drive, generally speaking, you're not making all of that money back. It looks like you're making that money back to a degree, but there's a couple things that generally don't get considered. For one, the way taxes work with your income. If you are an independent contractor, let's say that you're in the 12% tax bracket, the tax bracket that most people tend to be in, that lower echelon of tax bracket. You're not only taking on the taxes of working, which would be your 12% tax, you're also taking on an additional self-employment tax on top of that, meaning you could be taxed anywhere between 18 to 24% of your actual income at the lowest rung of taxes, the lowest fucking rung, right? And so you might think to yourself, oh, I'll just write everything off there. I'll write things off and that will take care of it. Let me give you a quick example from my own books, what that ends up looking like. So when I did all of my expenses 2 years ago, I still have not had a chance to do my taxes this year due to income reasons. I've deferred them. I'll be taking care of them when I get a chance. But from my example, I owed $10,000 in taxes. Now, after I itemized all of my expenses, computer repairs, stuff that I picked up for the channel, art that I had commissioned, I was able to get it down to about $2,700, anywhere between $2,500 and $2,700. I don't remember the exact number. I could look on my tax sheets right now if I wanted to, but I don't feel like pulling all those up at the moment. So that's what I ended up paying in taxes. Now, consider this on top of that, right? When you are working for a company, when you're working and getting what's called a W-2 in the United States, you get taxes deducted out of your paycheck. People bitch, like libertarian idiots bitch about taxes all the time, but I guarantee you, 99% of you who get taxed don't actually see it. It comes out in the form of, here's a Medicare expense, here's a little bit towards taxes, here's a little bit towards this, here's a little bit towards that. And you'll see those deductions on your paycheck, but when you actually get your paycheck, you adjust to getting that paycheck. When you start having to do it all manually, you don't adjust to it. The mental classification for it is entirely different. So what ends up happening is you get this big lump sum of taxes you have to take care of at the end of the year. Most people during tax season who have W-2s feel like, oh, this is amazing. I can just go ahead and get a whole bunch of things when tax season comes in. Anybody who works gig economy stuff, content creators, rideshare people, consultants, we end up having to pay thousands of dollars in taxes when the time comes around. So then you might ask yourself, okay, cool. Why not itemize all of my expenses? let's be on the topic of rideshare for a minute. You can itemize many of your expenses, but the law is really fucking finicky and really screws you there. Did you know that if you are writing off anything that your vehicle is a part of in your taxes, you have two options. You can write off your repairs or your gas. Either you are writing off the vehicle maintenance or the gas you use to get to work. You are not, or not get to work, but to work. If you're working rideshare, that gas is an expense that is part of your day-to-day, and those repairs are part of your day-to-day. But for some archaically stupid reason, you're only allowed to write off one of these. You have to choose which one of these you would rather write off. The gas expenses are usually done either by calculating every receipt that you have or by looking at what your odometer said at the beginning of the year versus what it says at the time that you are filing your taxes, or rather at the end of the tax season. So that is predatory as shit to me. And like I do not think taxes are predatory. Let me go ahead and make that one thing clear. Taxes pay for our roads, taxes pay for our schools, taxes pay for subsidizing medical care for people who need it. Taxes pay for a lot of shit that is really good. I wish that they weren't misallocated as often as they are, but taxes in general are a good thing. I just wish that the tax system we had was less broken. I don't understand why, if somebody has a contract that is coming out, like what happens with a content creator, that we can't just have our taxes taken out regardless. It doesn't make any sense to me, especially when people have paychecks that are as consistent as what we have on YouTube. Consistent in that we get them repeatedly once every month, as opposed to consistent the way that you would have it at a W-2 job where you have a consistent pay amount. That's one of my big gripes with how we do taxes. We fuck over everybody in the gig economy. And then, in the gig economy, everybody gets screwed even further. So not only are you having to pay extra in taxes, let's focus on Uber real quick. Not only are you having to pay extra in taxes in order to use your vehicle for work, but all the wear and tear that you are all the wear and tear you're putting on your vehicle, every mile you are putting on your vehicle for work, and every bit of gas that you're spending, you get this paycheck at the end of a week, or you can technically withdraw it earlier with Uber. It's actually built to give you like little hits of dopamine constantly. It's, again, an awkwardly predatory system for something that's supposed to just be a job, right? So you end up with this system where you get what feels like enough money to take care of stuff, and then, oops, is it similar with Lyft? They're the same fucking thing. There is no difference between Uber and Lyft. Now, it is not similar with Lyft, it is the same with Lyft. That is why most people who do rideshare as their number one job, they have to do Uber and Lyft at the same time. They can't just do one. It's the same job. It's the same thing. So you end up with all of these little micro expenses that are building up that are invisible expenses. You don't think about the expense of going to the gas station and putting gas in your car because it's an invisible expense. It's a thing that you expect that has to happen. It's a thing that you're not getting billed for directly that increases or decreases based on usage, like power or water or something like that, where you can go, oh, I had to spend extra on water. It's always the same amount. But what changes is the frequency, right? So if I go and gas up right now in Georgia, it costs me $42 to get a full tank. And it will cost me $42 no matter when in the week I'm getting it, because gas price fluctuations are only about 3 to 10 cents each. I'm never going to feel like there is a gas price fluctuation that is negatively impacting me, but I am still being negatively impacted if I'm doing rideshare because I'm having to spend that money more often, but I don't feel it as often. It doesn't register to me as often because it's almost an invisible expense. And then with the wear and tear on the vehicle, the fact that rideshare companies can commission you, but there's not like a stipend or something for gas or wear and tear or anything like that is stupid, is ridiculous. When we look at something like a taxi driver or a bus driver, these other like transportation style industries, gas is paid for by the company. They hand the workers a gas card that gives them what they need in order to drive. The actual vehicle itself is paid for by the company. Buses are part of a fleet. Taxis and cabs are part of a fleet. This means when one breaks down, maintenance can be done to it on the part of the actual office, on the part of the person who actually owns all the vehicles, and then you can get a replacement vehicle while that one is down. This happens very, very often with, say, school bus drivers. Also, Keek and Snake Eyes, thank you for resubscribing. The gig economy, as we understand it, has no such system. If that is your only form of job and your vehicle breaks down, which it will because you are putting far more miles, far more hours on your vehicle, when that breaks down and the onus is on you to repair it and you've just been paying your bills, you haven't been saving up for your taxes, and you aren't actually getting enough for your vehicle. Also, one other thing that makes this entirely fucked up, one of the strongest bits of workers' rights that we have fought for in the country has been the right to overtime pay, the right to the 40-hour work week, the right to the weekend. With the gig economy, you don't have a right to your weekend anymore. You don't have a right to overtime anymore. You don't have a right to these basic things that workers have fought for years, because we don't have overtime as somebody who works in the gig economy. When I did subathons, and believe you me, in my financial situation, I think about doing it again often. My patrons are very, very good to me, though, in that they talked me down from it. They made me go, hey, maybe this is not the best thing for you. But when we are talking about most jobs, if you go, hey, I'm going to go in and get some overtime. I worked 40 hours this week, but I'm going to choose to go in and get more money. And you're going to get more. Like, you're wearing yourself thinner when you go past that 40-hour mark. You are wearing yourself down. So overtime is there to compensate for the fact that you are wearing yourself down more. But if you're a gig economy person, if you're a content creator, you don't have that. That option doesn't exist for you. We don't have any such thing as overtime. We have more gigs. We have more things. So for me, in my situation, I go and look for voice acting opportunities. And if I'm not looking for that, I'm looking at opportunities where my skills can be used elsewhere in order to try to make ends meet. I've done consulting, creative consulting work for someone. I've done voice acting for multiple people. Like, I have to do those things on top of Twitch revenue and Patreon revenue and YouTube revenue and merch revenue and sponsor revenue, which no one of those things makes enough to pay all of my bills, but combined it makes enough that I'm able to function at the very least. That's the reality of being in a gig economy. Now, granted, the W-2 economy is also really fucked right now because people are having to take on multiple jobs because the minimum wage is not high enough to sustain people. This is the other trap of the gig economy. People in the gig economy, or people who are looking at the gig economy, will look at W-2 employees and see that they have very, very low wages right now. It's getting a little better, but generally, they'll see that they have very low wages. And they'll go, oh, well, I'm going to go work gig and I'm going to make more money. And they're right, they make more money in the gig economy. But you don't have your benefits paid for, so your health expenses are all out of pocket. Your dental expenses are all out of pocket. Your retirement expenses are all out of pocket. Those are invisible expenses. What you see as, oh, I make $200 more a week off of working for the gig economy. This is so much better than when I was working for Publix or Walmart or wherever the fuck you had originally. But then those invisible expenses kick in. Your health expenses end up being more of a problem. When I got full-time at Publix, I got healthcare. When I had full-time at Quick Trip, I had healthcare. If I had gotten full-time at Walmart, I would have healthcare. Ravi says cries in teacher contract. There's something to be said about salaries as well. There's something to be said about salaries as well, being somewhat of an issue. Overtime does not actually account for salaries, which is a negative in the W-2 department. I can agree with that one. But you see that you've got this marginally bigger paycheck. And you might even have spent a few less hours, right? Maybe you spent 1 or 2 less hours because of commute time not being as much of a thing when you did this this freelancing work. I know I feel that way. When I get my YouTube paycheck in and it's like $1,600, I am thrilled. I am like, oh my God, that's amazing. Now 25% of it has to leave for taxes. Okay, now it's less. Well, I don't have health care, so I'm going to put some aside for that one. Now it's less. Well, I don't have a retirement fund, and this is not going to be a thing that I get to do until the day I die, so some's going to have to come from that. Now it's closer to like $800. Now I've got to pay... Now I've got to actually pay my editor. I'm going to go down a little bit more there. Now I've got to pay my thumbnail artist, and I'm going to go a little bit more there. Now suddenly my YouTube paycheck's looking more like $300 or $400. And at that point, I'm having to ask myself yet another question. Have I even paid my bills yet? And the answer is no. The answer is no. I haven't paid my bills yet at that point. And that's the trap you get in with the gig economy, is that you find yourself in a situation where the raw numbers of your paycheck, look so much better, and you get this rush of dopamine, and you feel so wonderful when you get it, and then all of those micro expenses that you simply don't have to worry about as much because they are taken out of your paycheck early, and they are pooled with a bunch of other people, so it's cost you less total, disappears. If you were to get healthcare right now, not through the market, not through any subsidized means, but healthcare right now in the United States, it would cost you anywhere between $450 and $600 a month for a good health plan, a like high silver or gold tier health plan. I know this because I've paid for them. Now, if you have one of those health plans, you have a lot of benefits there. If you get injured, you can get taken care of, and all that stuff is great. If you are working in the gig economy, you don't have an option to get healthcare on your own. That's not a thing that you have. So you have to go get it yourself. Now you are spending however much it's going to cost you in healthcare. The marketplace can drop that down to a certain degree because it can subsidize your healthcare a little bit, but it would really suck if you happen to make more money during a week to pay for a really bad happenstance that happened, and suddenly that subsidy disappeared when the next tax season came around, which can happen to people. The trap of the gig economy, in my opinion, is all of the hidden costs that are normally taken on by an employer. And when you are working for the gig economy, none of those hidden costs are seen by you. You don't feel them. You don't feel the extra times you're going to the gas station because it's an invisible thing for you. It's an automatic thing for you. You don't feel the wear and tear on your vehicle because most people don't have a concept for the wear and tear of their vehicle. Most people have a concept for, my vehicle turned on and it didn't sound funny today. That's fine. They don't think about every single mile being added to the odometer and how much damage is happening to their engine when they are doing that. That's not a thing that we consider. So it ends up being another invisible expense that is taken on by the company. You don't feel the extra times that you're having to take your vehicle in for wear and tear because your brain doesn't have an automatic association between this is a direct result of the work that I am doing and this is the thing that is happening because of it. Your brain goes, oh, vehicle getting older, needs maintenance. Makes sense. And it stays there. It keeps in that category. We all subconsciously do it. We try not to. You might tell yourself that, oh, I never do that. But the thing about subconscious thoughts like that is they are invisible to you. You generally don't notice them until somebody points them out to you, or you've had a realization. Like you sat there and you've had your third puff of a joint and you go, oh, wait, hold on. I think something's messed up. Generally speaking, gig economy work racks up invisible expenses on you that you don't consider, and it causes it to be a trap. And the reason this works out so well for companies who are here for the sole purpose of exploiting us for their profit is when they don't have to incur all those invisible expenses, they get to skim a higher amount of our paychecks off the top. They get to skim a much higher amount of what we make as workers for themselves. This is one of the reasons why for Twitch, we had to fight so hard, and I say we because I'm a Twitch streamer, but I wasn't directly involved in this fight aside from like bitching online. There's a reason why Twitch streamers had to fight as hard as they did to get a better split on subs. Did you know that years ago, older Twitch streamers, people who had been around for a while, got grandfathered into a special program that said that they would receive 70% of any subscriptions or donations that came in bit form to their channel. They would receive 70% of those, and Twitch would receive 30%. And then, over time, Twitch slowly rolled it back to, well, people are going to get 60-40. And then they said, oh, well, partners are going to get 50-50. And this was weird because the 50-50 split, if somebody pays $8 into a subscription, you would get $4, they would get $4. The 50-50 split is the same as the affiliate split. The affiliate split you get by having 3 concurrent viewers on your stream. If you can manage that for a couple weeks, you become a Twitch affiliate. Congratulations, you're making money. You get that amount of money. If you became a partner, which takes 75 consecutive viewers, which only the top, 0.05% of streamers manage to get partner, it's a tiny, tiny amount of people who manage to get partner, they would also get that 50-50 split. Sakura says, I thought streamers get 100% of the bits. So, Sakura, remember that when you buy bits, you are not spending $1 per bit. You are spending 30 or 40% more to get those bits, discounted the larger the amount of bits that you get, which means, yes, it ends up that more of that money makes it to the streamer, but the greatest amount of money that makes it into streamers' pockets from Twitch is not from bits. It is from subscriptions. In fact, I can go ahead and pull up my stuff right now and show you what that looks like. So if we go over real quick, let's say we go over to Twitch and we go to the creator dashboard. And now we go to analytics and we go ahead and go to earnings. Here we are. We can actually see how much of our revenue is based on what we do. So if we look at payouts, we can see that subscriptions account for $568. Prime subs account for about $39. Gifted subs about $38. Ads about $60. Twitch Turbo, I don't even know what that is actually. Apparently it's worth $1.50 to me. And cheering. Cheering is bits. This is $32. $32 from bits. So while technically, in the most strictest of sense, yes, there's a different split when it comes to bits, not really, because most content creators aren't going to see that split. Now, after fighting for so long in order to get our split better, the Partner Plus program was introduced. So on top of getting partner, a Twitch streamer has to earn a certain number of subs constantly. Earn a certain number of subscriptions constantly in order to get a better split from their subscriptions. Now, if you look at mine, I have the small version of Partner Plus, where Tier 3s have the 70-30 split, but there's only there's only 6 people who have a Tier 3 subscription, so I don't make a ton off of that total. Tier 1 subscriptions and 2 subscriptions have a 60-40 split. This is because I'm in the Partner Plus program now. So, the way the Partner Plus program works is the grandfathered amount, the split amount that streamers used to get was dangled in front of everybody's heads as, oh, you can get this if you get 350 subscription points by the end of the month. This, and it took 3 months. You had to have 3 consecutive months of this to get it. This created a giant gold rush of people trying to find every way possible to get that 350 subscription amount and fight desperately for that so that they could actually get a better portion of the money that comes in. This has been a constant battle. This has been a fight between streamers and Twitch for trying to figure out how much money Twitch is allowed to skim off the top of our work and our labor. Who deserves more of the money? The person who is hosting the platform or the person who is giving a reason for the platform to exist in the first place? The streamer or the person who is monopolizing the stream industry? And this is a problem that exists in every single area of the gig economy. If you are working for Lyft, there are fights to see if there have been fights to see if Uber can get unionized. There have been fights to see if there can be any kind of worker representation for Uber drivers or Lyft drivers. There have been fights to try to do anything possible to try to make the world better for the people who are working in the gig economy. And we're going to continue to see those fights happen. Fights for better pay, fights for better representation, fights for better contracts. Unfortunately, the problem we run into is that the tech industry, as big as it is able to fight that with far more money than we have. And this lovely thing happens too, where the money that they get to pay for lawyers for these legal battles, the money that they get to pay for advertising and propaganda against this is also the same money that got skimmed out of all of our pockets in the first place. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? It's like when Walmart has an anti-union ad that they paid actors to do, and then they feed it to you at the beginning of your workday before you're allowed to start working for Walmart. And in order to accept that that movie was made to show to you, you have to accept that a portion of your paycheck inevitably went into its filming. Anubian says, isn't Uber denying services to people who are drunk? I believe there's something involved with that, and the argument is generally public safety, like safety of the drivers is what they're trying to work on. I don't know the details on that one specifically, Anubian. What I do know is that the gig economy is a predatory industry, and very few people actually make things work for themselves in the gig economy. But because of the upfront paycheck, it looks like things are actually way, way better for gig economy workers until they start calculating all of their individual mini expenses that are far more invisible and far more insidious as a result. This is one of the reasons why you don't see people who have gotten rich off of Uber, gotten rich off of this stuff. And the people who have gotten rich off of, say, YouTube or Twitch are, again, the 0.001%. See, I mentioned that getting partner was the 0.05% of Twitch. And these are what partner numbers will end up looking like for your pay sometimes. You may end up having $700, $800, $900. Split that across 4 weeks, and you're only making about $250 a week. That's not enough to sustain yourself no matter who you are. There's very few situations where you can be in a house or be in an apartment and have bills, and that be enough to survive off of in the United States. And that's how all these programs work, is they all end up feeding off of each other. In order to be a full-time streamer, you need to also have a YouTube channel. You need to also have a Patreon. You need to also have an income stream from merch. You need to also have an income stream from sponsorships. You need to also have extra gigs that are happening. You need to also have all of these things. You need to also have all of these things in order to make that system function. So for everybody who's worried about having to take on 2 W-2 jobs in order to make ends meet, anybody working in the gig economy is having to do the same thing. For the people who are having to do Uber and Lyft at the exact same time to make sure that they get the best competitive rates on the people they are picking up, it's the same damn thing. We are having to play a game with multiple systems that are not made for our benefit. They are made for corporations to make more money in order to try to make ends meet. And then when tax time comes, we all get fucked. So, anyway, that's my rant on gig economies. As somebody who works in the gig economy, I have a lot of shit to say about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is an off-the-cuff rant. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who help keep me afloat and help keep this channel going. YouTube and Twitch are wonderful platforms, but at the end of the day, stability is not one of their strong suits. If you want to support my channel, then obviously Patreon is one of the best ways of doing that. Link is in the description. But I do want to personally thank everybody who has contributed to the channel. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Briskreek, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Autumn and Angel, Nixie Chan, Mark Anthony, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that. Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. And everyone else who supports my channel and lets me do what I do full-time. This is a dream job of mine that I never believed that I would be able to take full-time, and with your help, I've been able to do it. So thank you so, so very much for that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all are having a wonderful time. I will see you all in the next one, hopefully.